Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode, this Tuesday edition of Trade the Chain. It is December 29th. New Year is almost out, and we thank you for watching us and letting us in here. It's going to be an exciting episode. Obviously we're hitting the big boards. We're also going to announce the $50 Bitcoin giveaway this week, which we've been doing weekly. Then we go on to our hot or not list. We got Cardano, ADA, it's laying it up. We'll check out the charts, see where it's going with CJ and Monty. We got Polkadot. Polkadot is both from a price action and a sentiment indicator, just on fire right now. We also have on our not list, obviously, XRP. It's going through its own troubles. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the current state of exchanges and counterparties. We have Filecoin. Filecoin's beginning to disappoint a little from its overhypedness just months ago. And of course, Ryan will bring us the big news, which is Voyager and the outage that happened yesterday into today and left a lot of people stranded. But first, we'll go to Ryan for our legal disclaimer and then off to our shameless plugs.
Thanks, Alex. This is just a reminder that all content and information provided by Trade the Chain, this webcast included, is for informational purposes only. This is not investment advice and should not be construed as such. As Alex says, we don't know what we're doing, so don't take our advice. Don't listen to us. Just have fun and enjoy the show. Trade the Chain is, of course, brought to you by Trade the Chain, a 24-hour community of traders spread across 17 time zones globally, sharing ideas, sharing successes, and using sentiment and SigDev-based real-time alerts that help them make more informed trades. Take a 14-day test drive at tradethechain.com. We'll see you there.
And then our next product we want to tell you guys about is Market Rebellion Crypto. If you join, you will get access to trade insights on a weekly basis from Monty and myself. We've also constructed a macro portfolio for over the course of 2021 to 2022 throughout the rest of this bull market. We made some recent updates to those allocations just last week. So if you want to get them, as well as our trade insights and trading education, go to marketrebellion.com/crypto and you can sign up for the first month for just $1, so you can get that trial, and renews at $29 a month. So marketrebellion.com/crypto. But without further ado, let's get to the big boards, starting with Bitcoin. So over the past, couple days, we've been consolidating, but Bitcoin has failed to consolidate at a bullish level above 27K. And so that's a little bit concerning to me. You can see on the 4-hour above here, I've highlighted a descending triangle. After we peaked at around 27, let's see exactly what that was, the crosshair. We peaked at about almost 28K. But the primary difference between this consolidation phase and the previous one that we had around 24K is that the consolidation at 24K was a much more neutral consolidation. And you can see that I've highlighted here with kind of this parallel channel that we were in. However, now the consolidation is much more of a bearish neutral posture. We're not creating higher highs, we're creating lower highs with a constant support level at around $26,000. So I'm kind of concerned if we break 26,000 because our next support level does not occur until 24,700. So I think that could be a decent pullback target for support if a pullback should occur. Those are my thoughts currently.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you here. And what a time to be investing in Bitcoin when we're talking about worst case scenario being a pullback to 24K. It's pretty exciting, but I think it's looking pretty bearish as well. And it's looking like a breakdown is pretty imminent here in this descending triangle. But yeah, we've got some pretty good support here. We got 25K, we got 24.7. I think investors are going to snap at the opportunity to buy Bitcoin below 25K. We've seen these drawbacks becoming less and less significant. And I feel like any drawback that's more than 5%, people are going to really jump at the opportunity to buy.
So you don't think we'll have a pullback to 15.5K.
It's looking less and less likely every day, Ryan. I hate to break it to you.
Damn. We've had a lot of positive news for Bitcoin recently, and the most recent story to come out, Russell Okung, he's an offensive tackle for the Carolina Panthers in the NFL. He makes $13 million a year, and he's going to get 50% of his salary in Bitcoin. You combine this with the expected wave of retail money, from PayPal and elsewhere. I mean, it makes sense that a pullback could only be temporary. A number of investors that I speak to during the day, they think that Bitcoin should surge to and past 30K in January. Do you think that's realistic given the consolidation, the bearish consolidation trend we're seeing today?
Yeah, I think that's very realistic. I mean, although the technicals are looking a bit bearish, it still feels like the sentiment around Bitcoin is getting better and better every day. And Russell Okung, he's been bullish on Bitcoin for a very long time. So I think he announced in 2019 that he's going to start taking his contracts in Bitcoin. And I think this could be setting a precedent for other athletes and high net worth individuals to follow. I mean, he's probably having his assets managed by some asset management firm, and they're advising him. And I could see lots of people following suit in the near future. So yeah, although there are some bearish technicals, the sentiment around Bitcoin and like you mentioned, Ryan, the retail interest is still very bullish in my opinion. So the technicals may drive it down a little bit in the interim, but I still think the sky's the limit when we're talking the fundamentals of Bitcoin.
If you look at Trade the Chain, the dashboard, the coin dashboard, it shows that relative tweet volume is up 24% versus the 30-day average for Bitcoin. And trading volume's up over 17%. So that would seem to support that idea that sentiment is rather bullish. I mean, the long-term sentiment remains a 74, which is a rather bullish signal. So I think you guys might be onto something.
This is a bull market without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to keep in mind, nothing goes straight up or straight down in a perfectly straight line. There's going to be whipsaws throughout this period of time.
Stonks go up.
Well, let's just get to the nitty-gritty. I mean, let's ask Mr. Short. Is he feeling enough conviction to go short on Bitcoin at the moment?
No, this is one of those instances that I don't have conviction to go short, but I did actually take a little bit of profit over the last few days. And I think that's something that a lot of traders are going to look at doing it over the next few days. We had people in chat talking about, profit taking after the holidays, if that's common. It is something that we've kind of seen historically. So I'm not going to short this, but I think a lot of traders are going to take profit here.
Yeah, buy the dip?
Yeah, and then buy the dip, right? If it dips to 25K or below, I'm definitely going to look to buy. And I think a lot of people will as well.
One more thing I wanted to ask about regarding Bitcoin before we move on. Towards the end of the year and going into the holidays in Asia, a lot of times especially towards New Year, the investors there will sell off because cash tends to be kind of a popular gift at this time of year. Cash in the little red envelopes in China.
Can't do that with Bitcoin, Ryan.
No, you can't. That's why people are selling. Do you think that that's leading to part of the selling activity, that because of the outsized influence that Asia has on Bitcoin relative to the rest of the world?
I think it's hard to say. I think in a bull market, it can be less likely certain times. But what we saw, like historically, when we fell from 6K all the way to 3K in December or the end of the year in, I think it was like 2019 even, that was largely due to not only miner sell pressure, but a lot of individuals selling for the end year losses to write off those gains. But considering we are in a bull market, I don't know it will be that pronounced, but just my opinion.
Well, I think, our good friend Rob over at Digital Asset News, I mean, the one silver lining he's seeing out of, let's say, the XRP fallout is, and I won't blow into that story yet, but is the fact that for him, it's going to be a good tax write-off, right? So he gets to offset some gains with some of these losses. So it's not always a bad thing per se. What do we got going on with Ethereum? What's ETH doing to change the world these days?
ETH's in a very similar spot as Bitcoin. I mean, big surprise, right? However, it's more in a neutral posture as opposed to Bitcoin's bearish neutral posture. There's not really a descending triangle forming on the 4-hour here. It's kind of just neutral. And what I think that's due to is the fact that historically we've seen Bitcoin kind of consolidate in certain periods from like 1 to 2 weeks. And during these periods of lackluster price action with Bitcoin, we can sometimes see a lot of activity and action in the altcoin market. And so that's why I think Ethereum is a little bit more neutral in this case. That's just what I'm seeing.
Looking at some of the sentiment indicators on Trade the Chain, relative tweet volumes up over 31%, relative trading volumes up almost 32%. And both sides, daily and long-term sentiment-wise, are saying that the trend is bullish. Do you think that it's just consolidating and setting itself up for a longer bull run as we head into the new year? I mean, especially in light of CME announcing ETH futures.
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I think these sentiment indicators are pretty spot on, just based on what I've been experiencing personally. I mean, like you mentioned, Ryan, there's been a lot of fundamental reasons to be bullish on Ethereum, but people have been texting me nonstop. I mean, I got probably 5 people texting me that the Winklevoss twins are saying that Ethereum could go to 75,000. They're like, should I buy ETH? So as bullish as I am on Bitcoin, I may be even more bullish on Ethereum. And I think that is largely due to the fact that, like we always talk about on here, Ethereum is kind of a gateway into the alts. And I think the alts are going to really benefit from the impending influx of retail capital. So I think when that does happen, Ethereum is going to explode. A lot of people are going to be looking at Ethereum and waiting for it to go up. Chainlink, as CJ's pointing out here, is kind of in a similar position, and that's not surprising. So yeah, I think the alts, good reason to be bullish on them heading into the new year.
I think, just if I could say one last thing, I think the Bitcoin maximalists severely underestimate the power of retail capital on the altcoin market. And I think we might see some very interesting things towards the end of the bull market as a result of that.
I think one headwind to keep in mind, and this is in regards to ETH and a number of altcoins, the lack of regulatory clarity and the sudden interest the SEC has both in digital assets themselves and asset managers in the space. They seem renewed in their attempt to try and clean up the industry, so to speak. What impact do you think that could have on retail and institutional enthusiasm, heading into the coming year?
I just want to add one thing to that, Ryan, because that's a great point. But there's also, we have this massive changing of the guard happening in Washington, right? And I almost feel like I don't know who's running what, who's at the helm of this regulatory thing. We had the OCC had, basically say, good things are happening for crypto. The SEC coming out then just shortly after with the XRP thing, that wasn't really good for crypto, more or less. And now we have a new administration coming in with and we had the SEC chairman leave and a new one come in. So who's running this shit? Ryan, do you think that we're actually going to continue down the same path we're going, or is this all up in the air, whether it's good or bad regs coming out?
I mean, to address one of those points, right? The SEC chairman leaving at the end of one president's term as a new president comes in, that's a fairly common occurrence. I wouldn't read too much into that. In terms of this kind of being a headless snake writhing around, yeah, I mean, there's no way to tell, who's going to be in charge or what their priorities will be. But I mean, looking historically at Republicans versus Democrats have largely been opposed to Bitcoin. They're not really in favor of crypto in general, and they tend to be more regulation focused than Republicans, who have kind of just left Bitcoin alone. They favor laissez-faire regulations on industry and business. And it's a different mindset, and it's something worth keeping in mind. Even with Gary Gensler in a position higher up in the administration, he actually isn't going to be in a regulatory agency. He's going to be in a post reviewing the major securities regulatory agencies. He hasn't actually been given a post yet. So he's more of an advisor. So there's no way really to tell what will happen. And I think that's more to the point of what I was trying to ask. That lack of clarity with that renewed interest in digital assets. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there was a lack, if it dampened enthusiasm from both institutions and retail investors. I don't think that they'll make Bitcoin illegal, but I can see them cracking down on other assets, similar to how they've done with XRP.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. And I agree that it would kind of dampen things in the interim. The thing is though, like if we take a step back and think about it long term, I think it could ultimately be good for assets like ETH, kind of weeding out these illegitimate projects. And it would give more, like you said, clarity and more kind of confidence for these institutions to get involved and more reason for retailers to speculate. So it's kind of like a big chain where like the regulation kind of needs to come first before the institutions come in. And then the retailers are able to kind of speculate on the institutional capital that's flowing in. So yeah, I think in the interim, it might be a bit dampened by some regulations that are coming in the next year, but I think long term this will be really good for the more legitimate projects like ETH.
I mean, to be clear, I'm all in favor of regulators enforcing the rules and cleaning up some of the scammier projects out there. It can only be good for all involved, but it will probably result in some short-term pain for people that aren't necessarily expecting it. It might kill their enthusiasm for crypto in general, which would be a shame. Yeah.
Right, going to the hot list, we got Cardano, ticker ADA, which is had some upward price action. Cardano has long been heralded as the sleeper of sorts in the salts world, and they have a great community behind them, very bullish. What are we seeing here, folks?
Yeah, we got Charles Hoskinson, of course, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, creating his own project in Cardano. Cardano actually has one of the highest correlations to Ethereum of any altcoin in the space. And I think that's kind of a result why. What we're looking here at the 4-hour is a great parabolic run over the last few days, but now we are reaching that sequential 9 after a shooting star candle in this 8. So it's kind of a bearish posture. I would be pretty enthusiastic to see where this next candle lands, if it just sells off and a lot of people who rode this up actually take profits. But that's what I would be seeing, just a short-term pullback for the time being. If we go over to the daily chart real quick, you can see that we're consolidating above the previous support level at around 17.5. So I would look for a support level at 17.5 right here based on the previous 9 of the setup phase. So interesting run, but I think we're due for a little bit of profit taking.
Yeah, I think the profit taking has kind of already begun. I just want to, if you could just stay here on the daily chart, I just want to quickly talk about kind of the last 2 days and this run up to where it's at now. I've actually been watching Cardano pretty closely over the last week, and I was waiting for the breakout above that level that CJ mentioned of 0.175. And one thing that we talk about a lot, CJ and I, in our room, is how important the confluence of indicators is when you're kind of trading these altcoins. And right when it broke above 0.175, or when it started to spike there, I saw on Trade the Chain that the tweet volume was up, the trade volume was up, long-term sentiment was up. So I kind of anticipated that it would break through and go up, and it went all the way up to nearly 20 cents. So it was a very bullish run, but I agree with CJ that some profit taking is happening now. But it was, I think, really a long-term bullish indicator for Cardano to break through that kind of resistance level that was set by that 9 back all the way back on Thanksgiving. So good to see.
One question, guys. Do you remember what Cardano's all-time high was? Was it around like 20, 25 cents?
Gosh, that's a good question.
I can look it up. Anyways, the point I want to make is just that, like, some of these alts are coming close to previous all-time highs. Of course, you know, I don't have to show it right now, but yeah.
What's the sentiment on Trade the Chain for? Do we have that? Yeah, Cardano.
It's bullish.
Yeah, it's pretty bullish, and the trade, as you can see, the trade and tweet volume is
Through the
way
roof.
up. So
Very high.
Yeah, I mean, and then obviously you see the number 6 slot there, which is at the top of the 1 hour projection right now, which is Polkadot, our next one, ticker DOT. I mean, this thing has, this thing has just been popular all through the last quarter. But you know, the sentiment on this is relative trading volume, 337% increase, relative tweet 285. Again, it's hitting the top of the grid here. What's the chart look like? Yeah. Wow.
Ooh.
All right. So it's having a pretty free flow run up.
Do you guys think that this run still has legs, or have we kind of reached the top? Because I mean, it's remarkable really how fast it's shot up and how much it has.
you know, I think it's interesting because I think it is largely dependent on what happens with Bitcoin. And like we noted earlier, it's kind of in this bearish descending triangle phase. And I think we saw a lot of people take profit when it went all the way up to 28K. And they started looking at these alts, which is kind of typical of what happens when Bitcoin has a massive run up and then some profit taking occurs. So I do think there's still some legs here if Bitcoin does continue to pull back a little bit. But one thing that we have seen is where if it does like just pull back without a parabolic uptrend leading it, then these all kind of pull back as well. So it's going to be interesting because a lot of these have passed these setup trend lines that we're talking about. So I think they have some pretty good support below them now. But I think Bitcoin's going to pull back and then continue to go up. And I think these alts are going to rise with it.
I think from a fundamental perspective as well, DOT has a good future in this next bull run because it's very similar to Link in the sense that they're both kind of Oracle networks, or the idea that Ethereum will become dependent on them due to their blockchain interoperability. So I'm very bullish on DOT and Link over the course of this bull market. As a result, maybe might see prices of even $50, but that remains to be seen. But yeah.
Interesting.
That just went triple green. Sorry to cut you off, Alex. Just watching the latest update on the trade.
Oh, there it is, triple green on the DOT. It's interesting because I was talking to I was speaking with the founder of and CEO of Moonbeam, which is building parallel chains on the Polkadot network. And I found it fascinating what companies like Moonbeam are doing in regards to utilizing Polkadot's chain to kind of solve some real world problems. But yeah, Polkadot's always around in the barroom chat. People love talking about it, and that's good following. Onto the not list. Here we go. I'm gonna do a real quick. Hold on. See, you have no idea what I'm pulling up, CJ.
Oh yeah, I'll let you share. My bad.
No, I'm not pulling up anything. CJ's in charge of visual effects for the show, if anybody didn't realize that by now. But I'm going to do a real quick honorable mention on that list because the other ones can take a little bit of time, but it's Filecoin. Filecoin had a ticker's FIL. It has not been doing well lately from price action standpoint. It was one of those early darling coins with a significant price increase, but now seems to be kind of retracing itself, consolidating and wiggling some stuff out. What do you guys think?
Yeah, this is definitely an asset that I would not touch right now. Although it's on the red 9 and it's creating that setup support line, I still think, like you said, Alex, it's kind of retracing itself. It needs to really price itself out. So I would just wait to touch this. Although the 9 is typically indicative of a reversal, I still think it's got room to run down. So I would wait.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the big knot. The big knot, obviously, XRP. A lot of indicators, a lot of headwinds facing it right now. you know, and before we get the XRP army, like putting all the negativity comments in the video and the thumbs down, you know, I just want to say we're not looking at this in any other way than a capital market, you know, people. This chart is like I don't know, it's like a Renaissance painting.
Brutal.
It really is nice though. If you look at like just the way the volume is kind of, it's very symmetrical, and the technicals are nice. And yeah, sure enough, we're right back kind of where we started.
Where do we go from here is the question. You know, Ryan has some news on some delistings here in the U.S. Obviously, the U.S. is out, but where do we go from here? Does this just keep going down? Are we talking about single-digit prices?
It depends on who you ask, right? Because the XRP army is convinced, we were talking about earlier before the show, it's convinced that this is all just a grand scheme for the XRP whales to get XRP at a lower price. Was it you, CJ, that pointed out, or was it you, Monty, that pointed out that the wallets with the most XRP have been selling it all off, and the support is coming from the smaller wallets, the retail bag holders that don't know any better?
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, honestly. People are losing money, and yeah, that's absolutely true. The large and the smart money is exiting the market. Meanwhile, average size wallets or smaller size wallets are remaining full or at, you know, current capacity. So that's just not a fundamentally good thing that you want to see. And as opposed to, or as far as trading XRP goes right now, I mean, I heard somebody on Twitter say this, but it's kind of like trading Enron in 2001. I don't see the risk reward being there, because I have no one knows what's going to happen to this.
Ryan's buying it at one and 2 cents. I know
I'll buy it at 1 cent just to see what happens. But where am I going to buy it, right? So the list of exchanges that have and counterparties that have stopped transacting in XRP is growing by the day. You have something called BTC Exchange, which I haven't heard of. Galaxy Digital, we may have heard of those guys. Jump Trading, Bitwise, Cross Tower, OSL, Bitstamp, B2C2, OKCoin, and Coinbase have all stopped or announced plans to stop transacting or trading in XRP. And Crypto.com. And there are rumors that plenty of other major trading platforms and firms are going to imminently make similar announcements or moves. So it's just, where would I even buy this? Where would I let this? Where would I buy this so I could circle the drain with it if I wanted to get in at 1 cent? Like,
Ryan, did you see Ryan, that somebody just put that out there today, that U.S. accounts for only 5% of XRP trading and customers? I don't believe that at all. Do you? Is this true?
I believe that it accounts for only 5% of retail traders potentially, but the fact is, the financial firms that were supposedly adopting XRP and were going to use it for remittances, a lot of them have strong U.S. ties or are based in the U.S. So if you have the U.S. government taking some kind of enforcement action against them, then you know, it limits those institutions and those firms' abilities to hold XRP. That's why Bitwise it liquidated its XRP holdings. That's why Galaxy, Jump, all these firms, Cross Tower, you can't do much with XRP anymore. And it just, details in that lawsuit were damning. And it's not a good, it doesn't look bright for them at all. I don't know where they go from here.
Can we speculate on who possible winners of this fight are going to be? Is it going to be the Dashes, the XLMs? Any speculation on that, folks?
If you look at an XLM chart, it looks like people think they're going to be the winners, right? Like XLM, sorry to cut you off, CJ, but like XLM has surged since this announcement, since the lawsuit. It's gone down recently, but it's still well above the levels it was at before the lawsuit, and at least initially it went up.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Monty.
No, I was just going to say, I think this kind of ties in with what we were talking about earlier, where a little bit of regulation on a asset that needed some regulation will ultimately be good for the space, but in the interim, it's going to kind of dampen trading in the altcoin area. I don't know if there's any real winners are going to come out of this. I think XLM is going to continue to go down. I think in the interim, a lot of alts are going to go down, but in the long term, I think this is going to provide some much needed clarity, and hopefully some institutional capital will follow.
And that's why they call him Mr. Short. But is this, how about like a different example of something like this happening, right? Let's say it was electric cars. Let's say that Tesla has been around as long as it has, and then one day this past month the government came out and said, you know something, we're suing Tesla. We think it's unfit for the road, or it didn't pass some sort of regulation, and all of a sudden the US market is cut out of buying Teslas or selling Teslas if you're already an owner and with the used car market. Could the regulators have done something a little more gentle, or was there any in between? Because I feel like it was 0 and 100 miles an hour. There was no in between on this.
Isn't this how they normally handle securities though? Like you're either here or you're here, right? You're on one side or the other. You're not in a gray area unless you shouldn't be in that gray area, and you're only there until you're in one of those two buckets.
Ryan, did it really take them 6 years, 7 years, 6 years, whatever it was to figure this out?
Look how long it took to figure out Bernie Madoff, despite all the red flags. In hindsight, I mean, sometimes it does take that long.
All right, well, that's a whole different episode, folks. That will turn that one into a mini series. We're going to move on to the news, the big news that's happened. If you're particularly U.S. based and you are a retail client of Voyager, you definitely know what happened yesterday. Ryan, take us through this.
So late yesterday, Voyager went down. I'm trying to access it on my phone, my iPad, and I'm just wondering what's happened, but generally not that upset. These things happen once in a while. And then they make an announcement after a couple hours that there's some system maintenance that's going on. And, it's kind of surprising, but again, this isn't unusual. These things do happen. And then there's nothing for hours. And then late last night, or later in the evening, Steve Ehrlich, Voyager's CEO, admitted that there was a denial of service attack on Voyager, and they had to take the whole platform down to ensure the safety of customer funds and information, which that's a great move on their part for doing that. But if that's what happened, why didn't they just announce that from the onset? I think that's what left a bit of a sour taste in some people's mouths, right? Because part of the community was infuriated that they were misled, intentionally, unintentionally, or otherwise. And then you have the rest of the community who, when Voyager's token sold off, VGX, as soon as everything came back online, they stood behind it, and it's now significantly higher than it was before the outage. So, I mean, sure, it worked out in the long run, but I don't know that you can continue to do things to handle things like this and have a positive outcome. I'll just leave it there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so we were personally affected by this, not only as Voyager customers, but as well as our platform, since it's connected to Voyager's data feeds. Yeah, ideally these things, I mean, brokerages do go down from time to time. It's very difficult when it goes down for such an extended period of time. But, I was glad that the community and Steve Ehrlich did respond and make things pretty clear once they had a handle on what was going on. As you can see here, Voyager tokens sold off a little bit. Obviously, there was no trading going on the Voyager app, but Voyager token, or formerly Ethos, is listed on various Asian exchanges such as Huobi and some others. And presumably those Asian traders caught wind of this fundamental factor, and VGX did sell off quite a bit. But now we've recovered, and the concept of buying when there's blood in the streets could not be ever more apparent right now. The Voyager has come out and said that they're going to try to do their best to improve the tokenomics behind the system of VGX, so it actually has a correlation between the stock and the amount of users that come on the platform. As you can see here, Voyager's bounced back pretty well, or excuse me, Voyager token has bounced back pretty well. But if we look at the stock of Voyager Digital, the company, we can see that there was quite a crash as soon as that outage occurred, and we remain about down 9% today. So I mean, not horrible for a stock that's been up 100% the last month or two, but nevertheless, this is reflected somewhat poorly in the stock price.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I mean, so yeah, it was great that Steve came out and said, "Hey, this is what happened, and this is what we're doing." But they could have just said, "Hey, we had to take the system offline. We're having some technical issues, and we'll provide further information once we have it." Right? Why not do something like that instead of just intentionally misleading people by saying it's system maintenance? Maintenance is usually scheduled, and that was a fair point that many in the community made on Twitter and responding directly to Voyager's Twitter account and to Steve Ehrlich online. I'm confused at the way in which they handle it, I guess, if nothing else. It's not their fault that the attack happened necessarily, that we can tell, but I'm confused at how it was handled from a public relations standpoint.
Yeah, I think it definitely could have been handled better. I mean, the worst part about an outage like this is kind of, as a customer, is the uncertainty that you're feeling about the security of your funds, about the liquidity of your funds. And when they come out and kind of give this sort of disingenuous response, it doesn't really quell your fears. So yeah, I think they'll kind of learn from this. Hopefully in the future they'll handle it better. Yeah, maybe they should take some notes from Coinbase, because this is something that happens to them pretty often. So
Oh,
taking notes from Coinbase is a good idea for anyone. That said, I did buy the dip. I still stand behind Voyager. I'm still a big fan. I just hope this doesn't happen again.
yeah. I mean, I don't know, Ryan, if this has happened before, or if this is the first one. I mean, it's the first time an outage is that I know of has happened. I mean, it could be the learning curve bell here, with them as a team. I think you're right. I think it could have been handled differently, but I also think it may have been their first time, if I'm not mistaken, that something like this has happened. And they just, first of all, they didn't have Ryan Gorman as a PR guy. Okay. So Steve, if you're watching, and two, they kind of took them by surprise. Maybe. I'm bullish on Voyager personally. I bought accumulated more tokens this week of VGX. I'm looking to accumulate their stock. I think they're a great company. They have a great team. And I think they're going to do big things and go very far. I think there's nothing but upside to them. And to Ryan's point, they're learning. They're working out some stuff on how to handle things. So yeah, good stuff. Okay, we got to announce the winner of Bitcoin. Woo. Yeah. So Ryan and I forget what day it was. We came on, just us two. Monty and CJ wanted nothing to do with us.
Saturday.
Better things to do. What's that?
Saturday, I think, right?
Saturday, yeah. So Ryan and I came on Saturday, and we decided to give away. Well, we were announcing the winner for our socks that we gave away. So those two winners, LOL Clark and Julie. LOL Clark still haven't hit us up in the email that's located in the About Us section on YouTube. But Julie did. Julie, your package is on the way. Merry Christmas. Got the socks in the wallet. Even threw something extra in for you. But we announced we were going to give $50 of Bitcoin away each week till we were broke. And so, we put that contest in that episode. A lot of people entered, went through randomizer software. We don't know anybody, had nothing to do with it. And it came out as Dre New York City. Dre NYC is the winner of this week's $50 Bitcoin. So you have to go to the About Us page on our channel. Hit us up with an email. We'll grab your address. We'll zap it with $50 in Bitcoin for you. And that be that. So congratulations, Dre NYC. You were the winner of this week's $50 Bitcoin giveaway. And we are going to do it again. So yes, because we're not broke yet. But we're
How do
closing.
they enter, Alex? Tell them how to enter.
Okay, so this is how you enter. You have to, it'll be in the description. Just follow this little thing. We always make you work a little for it. You have to publicly subscribe to this channel. You have to like Trade the Chain, at Trade the Chain on Twitter. You have to like, I can never pronounce your handle. What's your handle, Ron?
Gormo X Journo. GORMOEXJOURNO.
You have to like my handle at Alex Mascioli. That's only because we don't have enough friends, so we need to pump that up. You know, we're gonna throw one more. You gotta like. We're gonna throw Market Rebellion's handle in there too. You gotta like their stuff. But it's all gonna be in the description. It's really easy to do. It takes you 5 minutes to hit like. And after you're done liking it, you put in the comment section, I want the Bitcoin. Can't like it and then not comment on it. I want the Bitcoin, and we'll give away $50. We'll announce the winner for this week's $50 Bitcoin giveaway on Friday, I believe, folks. And that's brought to you by the four of us who know nothing. And that's that. Any parting words?
Have a great New Year, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you on New Year, but have a great one leading up to it. And be safe out there.
Bye.